I'll go ahead and call to order this regular school board meeting of Nelson County Schools on July 21st, 2015 at approximately 5:01 p.m. We'll start out with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The board mission statement, the Nelson County Board of Education, representatives of our citizens and entrusted with their children, pledges to support the mission of the Nelson County School District by setting visionary direction to effective policy, oversight, and efficient resource management. The district vision statement, quality education now, learning for life. Item 2 on the agenda, any changes to the agenda?
There are no changes to the agenda as we have it here tonight. We made a couple of changes after we sent out the media notice, but the agenda that's printed this evening is the one we'll follow.
Okay. Item 3 on the agenda then, student and stakeholder engagement, and 3A, student performance, which we see 2 long tables, a bunch of cups, some ping pong balls, a bunch of people with looks on their face like, yeah, don't y'all get what that is that we got up there. So we'll turn it over to you.
All right, so we have Ms. Call here with some students from Boston. So Ms. Call, if you don't mind making some introductions, we're excited to see what we have tonight.
Okay, the week of June 15th, we were honored to host Camp Invention for the 2nd year in a row under the direction of Martina M. Shaw. These students spent a week doing various activities, probably more than physically possible to cram in a day, but somehow they managed. We served over 40 campers from all over the district. Students came from Cox's Creek, Foster Heights, Bardstown, our school. We opened it up to all students in the area. We've had wonderful participation. But without further ado, they would like to share with you some of the things that they did and learned. It's a STEM-based camp, and this is Martina M. Shaw, and she'll tell you a little bit more about Camp Invention.
Okay, well, I'm talking my campers here and counselor in training and my leader intern, Lisa. They're doing base camp activities. Base camp activities that we did when they were arriving to camp at 8:30. We brought out base camp right after lunch and at the end of the day. It's just a kind of activities, just thinking, kind of a classroom management type of skill too, so we can get our day started positive. So I'll tell you some things about Camp Invention. They're going to work through the base camp activities, and then we'll talk about some of the inventions they made during the week. Our day went from 8:30 to 3. There wasn't any downtime except for, I think, at lunch. Had about 25 minutes for lunch, and that was their only downtime of the whole day. It is a nationally acclaimed STEMS camp. We, like Ms. Cole said, 41 campers. That did not include my counselor in training. If you're a counselor in training, raise your hand. That was 2 of my 5. Those are students that are going to be in 7th grade through 9th grade. If you were, and then I had leaders, and if you were a leader, that was Miss Elisa, and I had 4 leaders. 2 were paid, 2 were volunteers to earn their community service hours for the week. We had, I want to point out of our 41 campers, over 23 of them were scholarships. We were able to give them scholarships to attend this camp. We also are fortunate in Boston that we were able to have the summer feeding program. So our campers also got fed free breakfast and lunch. And a lot of the camps do not offer that. So we really appreciated that. Okay, you all can go ahead and start your activities. If y'all want to come and join them in the base camp activities, come on. And you all can tell them kind of what you're doing. We have Grant is working on one of just blowing into the ball, the cup, and getting the ball to bounce into another cup. Stone and Sawyer are doing a tic-tac-toe game, and they'll have to, one can triumph the other, the big cups can triumph the little cups. The other group on down, Addison and Rowan, have to get their ping pong ball through as many tunnels as they can with just a flick. Our counselor in training and our leader helped with these activities. They led the activities. The kids did a different activity each day. They also have, y'all are welcome to jump in feathers. They had a blow and to keep the feathers up in the air.
But you can as many as you can.
So like that would be two in one place. So is the goal then to try and start out up there and make it all the way through with one? Okay.
And try to get as many as you can.
So can you rearrange the paint sticks?
Figure out what they want to
This camp involved a lot of realistic thinking outside the box. They did a lot of writing, they did journals.
Can you
They had
rearrange
to
the order?
come up with an invention
Yeah, because like
from an everyday problem, work on it all week, try to figure out how they were going to market their invention in one module. And another module, they had a video of a problem from an inventor, and then they had to figure out how to solve that problem. And then they also built
Better order.
towers out of newspaper, and the problem was that week it was so hot and really
Did you,
humid, the
like, try
newspaper was
and
being
put- I mean, it's three-
so they had to figure out how to solve that problem.
Small, a medium company.
They had
So
a
did you
pool
try
with
them in like
little
this order and then put the
gadgets
small
in it.
one
They had
first?
developed some
So
tool that
did
could
you
go
know,
under
was
the
there any
water and
difference? Is
scoop
it
up the
easier
gadgets.
one way or the other, or does it matter?
A lot of them learned real quick that cardboard does not work in water, and they had to go back and rethink of what to use.
You have to start with the smallest. You're supposed to start with the smallest cup. You can only trump.
Elisa,
You're supposed to have
Come here,
it on the cheek.
Surely not.
He started it. They wanted to argue about how not these guys.
I mean, I didn't know like if, you know, so the biggest cup, would it cost
Elisa, explain.
the most resistance the first time, so if you use the small cup, I mean, I don't know.
see, but the small cup over there is easier
Oh, is it? Okay.
because it's hard to get it.
Oh, because it's already lost some of its momentum by the time it gets, okay, that makes sense. Then we're here. And, yeah, I'll put that one back on. Okay.
Someone, nobody can trump stones in the middle now, right?
That makes sense then, okay.
the biggest one in the middle. There. It's just another layer of tic-tac-toe.
Is it only three cups all you've used, or did you try to see, did someone make it before or
They
five?
were practice waiting for things to start, they would immediately get engaged.
You can make it longer, but
Do I get to a stopping point and we'll show them our next bit of inventions? Because they could do this all day in the base camp stuff. Some of them. Yeah, as soon as they got finished for lunch, if they got tired of singing, we went to do the feathers. But we also did, you know, we put some t-shirts in the freezer. Got them nice and cold. We actually forgot about them till about Thursday of the week and got them back out and went outside and the teams had to try to thaw them out and put the shirts on. They actually put them on our counselors. So they had to do a lot of thinking and how to work as a team. And that's what we found out during the week. You know, a lot of our kids, that's where they struggle with working as a team, figuring out how to solve the problems. Now, even, she's not here today, my niece Peyton, she was supposed to come, she's very athletic. She was nervous about coming to camp, where her sister, Roman, down there was like, I love camp. But she found out after she got there that Mr. Manley's going to talk about the cartwheel module, that she had to use some competition skills to think of problem solve, how to win some competitions in order to get points, in order to build her cartwheel. And she loved that then. When she was thinking, how can I win? What do I need to do? She didn't end up winning. She wanted to go last to see where everybody else messed up at. She tweaked her cartwheel to where it was
a little bit more, and sometimes
Now, doesn't this help them when they reach problem solving
Yes.
in the future?
Yes, yes.
Because when mine competed, it was like they
So
were
I'm
going in.
wondering if you had enough paint sticks.
You know, your junior, senior in high school, you didn't,
Oh, hold on.
they did work real well, but it was still, they had to start from scratch.
If they can start at a camp invention at first grade in the fall. And then go to sixth grade, and then like, then they can become
So
counselors.
that there was
This one, and then they can be leaders, that's after that. Now, they're trying to go more to the volunteer with leaders, to the paid position. And I didn't think I'd get any volunteers, but I did. I had 2 volunteers and 2 paid. So. All right. So you all coming up?
Flicking in the
I'll let Mr. Manley.
Put that board on that end, oh.
Look at him.
Hold on, I'm sorry, we're not
Keep
done.
going. That's a blast.
After that, you put them underneath. And I get just a little bit more under.
Sometimes the base camp activities at lunch, I had to keep them put up because they wouldn't eat their lunch because they wanted to come, play with this.
Especially that roller coaster.
One more. Camp Convention sends us all the modules. So we The next thing I think is the hardest for the kids at camp, and Grant, do you all want to talk any about I Can Invent? Sawyer, Stone, anybody? They're quiet. This is the quiet bunch of kids from Camp Invention. Even Elisa's the quiet leader.
Well, except for this one right here, she's awful.
Rowan, Rowan. She's a Walls.
Okay, that explains it.
No, that's my
You
niece.
claim her.
I claim her. They have to bring in a broken item. And we had a list like tower, computer tower. What else did we have? We had radios, VCRs. We had alarm clocks, blow dryers. And during the week, they have to take their item apart. So Mr. Manley, he got the fun job of, he's one of my instructors. I had 3 instructors. They were Boston teachers. They had to be certified teachers. So, of helping the students have to take their thing they brought in apart.
And
So,
teaching about the tools, and what tools did what, and how to figure out what they would need to take it apart.
So you just don't use a hammer?
they went
Some we had to.
Okay. Just checking.
And then they had to, it took us 3 days, probably to get 2.5 days to get everything apart with all our helpers here, especially with the first graders. It takes some time. And while they're doing that, one group will be taken apart and another group will be working on a storyline. They had to invent a 3D video game. And it was based on a maze. So it's called Maze World. And they had to, with their team, decide who was going to be level 1, level 2, level 3. And then they had to come up with their storyline. So they did have a story about their characters and what was going to happen, and then they had to build their video game. So these are some of the video games that they built, and that was the character. Addison, is this your good guy or your bad guy? That one kind of felt bad guy.
That's why he was over on the side, because
Yeah.
the bad guys always lose.
And then you have to glue it all.
Can you tell about your storyline, Addison?
Do you remember your storyline?
Had to do with Maleficent. I remember hearing that.
With who?
Maleficent?
Melissa, the witch,
Oh, the Snow White.
Snow White.
I'm with you.
Did you have to get through the maze?
No.
No, what?
What was Maleficent?
She's
The bad guy. And what was she doing?
And there was a bridge with some crocodiles or something?
Is this your bridge? One of these your bridges?
Well,
It might have been the next level, huh? They're awful. See, they're my quiet bunch here. But I think this year, the group, now, what was y'all's favorite module? Now, my counselors worked mainly, I divided them up. This year we did a little bit different. We divided them up. They worked with the instructional assistant all day to help. That way they knew when each group came in what to do. All right, Rowan, what was your favorite module? Cartwheel, I Can Invent.
probably the car.
Cartwheel. Sawyer. There's Illuminate with Miss Nicole and Illuminate. I figured everybody would say Cartwheel. Because Cartwheel this year involved a lot of water. We used, didn't we, Mr.
Every
Brown?
day we had a roll.
You want to tell them about Cartwheel?
Yeah, Cartwheel, they had to do challenges, and basically, the main challenge was called the Hydro Challenge, which, believe it or not, involved water. And the first day, it started out with just water balloons. Then it went up to a baby pool with water balloons. Then they added cups, and then they added sponges. Each day, the students at the beginning had a chance to design shields. They had the opportunity to design shield for their entire team or individual shields. And the object was the driest team got one first, second, third, and for each where you finished, you got points. Those points went and bought parts out of the hardware store for their cartwheel.
So it's very important that the team stay dry.
Yes, and each day they got a little time to figure out what do we need to do to our shields to make them better so we don't get wet, so we can score more points. So.
But I think they enjoyed getting wet because it was hot, because we had some
Yes,
soaked
there were
kids.
some you could tell they threw the shield down and they were in the water.
But the end product, you were to make a cartwheel, right?
Yes.
Now, cartwheels look different.
Yes, some of the items they had, of course, everybody discovered have a skateboard. Skateboard was very important to get through the obstacle course. We had the plastic sled there was rafts. You could get items out of the
Yours was a
supply
raft,
store,
wasn't it?
which were boxes, string, just different things. They could even bring an item from home. We had one student, because the skateboards were so much and the item from home was so much less, he brought his own skateboard to save his team points. So it was very interesting to see how some of them strategized what they were going to do with their points.
And then by Friday, they had to do an obstacle course and run it through the obstacle course. And we're going to this was Caden's, Rowan's sister, this was hers. Of course, her team came out the fastest, the quickest time. They had it down to a science, because they had to go under a table, and then they had to go, while they're pulling, they had to grab a bucket that had styrofoam blocks in it.
And build
They
a
had to
tower.
Stack a tower of blocks, and then run, and then shoot a beach ball into a human
human
basket. They flew. They had a system worked out who was going to pick up the blocks, who was going to start stacking. They had already thought, and we're going to let Rowan, you're going to ride. They had to have a rider. So by Friday, when they left Thursday from the end of camp, the talk was, okay, if you're a rider, I heard them talking, knee pads, jeans. If you want a helmet, you might want to bring a helmet. So they had already figured that there would probably be in the floor or crash. And we did end up moving it inside because it was raining that day, because they were supposed to be outside with it. But, all right, come on, Rowan.
I know. I think we ought to get you.
Here, Rowan. Come here. Go that way, Greg, because you got this cord here.
Do you want to pull it?
That duct tape was a favorite. They used tons of duct tape at camp. Our computer lab at Boston was our upcycle room, where we stored cardboard, newspaper, beads, feathers, anything people brought in, recyclables. And each day the room was a disaster, from where they would go in there and get whatever they need to build stuff. And then they had to figure that out too. After a couple of tries, you know, who's the smallest one of our team members that should go on it. Rowan's float, which Rowan had a float. They had a little blow up glass, and they figured out real quick that should not work. Teamwork. But, so, and that is just a snippet of Camp Invention. Y'all, hopefully we're going to have it again next summer, and you all can come. It's actually, we're all exhausted by the end of the week. Watch the cord, guys. There you go.
You've done a wonderful job.
Nice.
Good job, kids.
Thank you, guys.
Appreciate it.
I like that. That's cool.
Good job, guys.
Now next year we'll ask if y'all want to come help take things apart.
Oh my gosh, that's the funnest part, is taking the stuff apart.
Good job.
Thank you, guys.
Drives me.
Really nice.
You're welcome.
Thanks for doing it.
Would you like us to go ahead and take it up? Is that right?
Thank y'all. Good stuff.
Thank you all. Thank you, Martina. to go back to the Camp Convention.
I see it.
That, I know.
I see it.
I might go back for it.
Good stuff.
So we got our student performance. We'll go on to item 3B, which is our good news.
So it's been nice to see some good news coming from Boston. We're not accustomed to that, but it was nice to get to see their invention camp, their camp invention. And I really want to say thanks to the parent volunteers and the staff that helped them, because that sort of thing doesn't happen without a lot of adult planning and help. Also wanted to say congratulations to Thomas Nelson leader John Hammond, who served as a National Case Agriculture Education instructor over the summer at Texas A&M University. John led groups of other agriculture educators from across the U.S. in creating inquiry-based learning that they can then take back to their own classrooms. The Old Kentucky Home Middle School Beta Club placed first in the first ever Meeting of the Minds National Beta Competition. Laura Philpott, China Martin, Sammy Howard, and Lydia Newton were the competitors representing OKH in that competition. Also in National Beta Club competition, Lydia Newton's digitally enhanced photograph placed third place, and Laura Philpott was a top 10 finisher in poetry. That's not just top 10 in the state, third place in the state, that's national competition, so we're really proud of those kiddos. New Haven staff have been working over the last week and then some to create the new Leader in Me look within the building that will be unveiled fully at the open house / barbecue on August the 3rd from 4 to 8 p.m. The staff have attended intensive training in the Leader in Me process by Franklin Covey that provided time for them to reflect on the 7 habits of highly effective people, practice using it in their daily lives, and then plan how they'll start the journey of teaching those habits to students in the upcoming 15-16 school year. We're certainly grateful to Sydney Rust, her father, and her grandmother for completing a mural in the front hallway, creating visual reminders of the 7 habits within the school building. That's a great program, and we're excited to get to see them implement that this year. I know we're going to continue to hear good things from them. Cox's Creek has also been working on refreshing their building this summer. Hallways and classrooms have been repainted with Nelson County colors, and welcoming bulletin boards have been added. More murals have been added to the building. The library's had a makeover, and new magnetic whiteboards, that's a sign that you have arrived, have been added to all the classrooms. And finally, they also have a couple of new bulldog statues that have been added to the front of the building to welcome kids in this summer. Then finally, Bloomfield Elementary's Clubhouse Child Care Program had a theme for the summer, Around the World in 80 Days, teaching kids about a different country every week. That included France, Italy, Mexico, Egypt, Russia, England, China, and Australia. Additionally, students had walked to the Bloomfield Library weekly, been on walking field trips, had Friday dance parties with popsicles, all while being educational. So even while kids are in childcare for the summer, we're fortunate that we've got folks working with them. They still have opportunities to learn. So good things going on around the district, and we're excited about that, even in the summertime.
I was going to say, just another example that learning isn't just that 8 to 3 for those 107 days through the school years. Appreciate that, Dr. Orr. Moving on to item 4, which is the operations consent agenda. It consists of information, personnel actions, treasurer's report, bills and claims, munis report, leaves of absence, minutes from previous meeting, overnight out-of-state trips, fundraiser requests, and policy and procedure updates. And just to make sure we have clarification on the last night policy procedure, this will be second reading on those that are within that grouping. Is that correct? Okay. So the operations consent agenda, we've had these provided to us back towards the end of last week, I believe.
Yes.
Motion by Mr. Pate.
Second.
Second by Mr. Norman. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Moving on to item 5, efficient resource management, and 5A, which is the Nelson County Early Learning Center waiver request that I believe we had some conversation about at our work session.
Architect Stephen is here tonight, and we just talked back. He tells me he delivered earlier today design development drawings, just for your information, to BCG so they can begin working on the cost projections for the ELC project. Of course, as soon as we get that back, we'll be bringing that to you, hopefully on August 6th, that first board meeting in the month of August. If we don't have it, we'll certainly bring it back to you at the regular board meeting. Tonight's item is simply a waiver request. The current design of our preschool as it stands now, as you know, there are 7 classrooms there, I believe, and we have 1 playground. The regulation, as it's currently written, is written to support preschool the way it was handled, I guess, a few years ago. Whereas most of your preschools were 1 classroom within a regular elementary school, and they would have a separate preschool playground on the premises with direct access from the preschool classroom. Well, it's impossible to have direct access from every classroom in our situation. We have 7 classrooms now. We're proposing to go to 14. We're still going to have 1 playground. But unfortunately, the regulation still requires, or is written requiring that. So the way around that is to submit a letter, board approval, to submit a letter requesting a waiver of that regulation. We're asking that you do that tonight. I'll give that letter to Stephen tomorrow, and he'll deliver it to the Department of Education, and we'll hopefully hear back from him real soon that that's approved.
I would assume some of the thinking originally on the KAR was also safety, that the preschool designated playground would be enclosed by a fence that was directly connected up to that other exterior door, so that it was just those students in and out, which I would think that the way that we are proposing to lay out at Nelson County Early Learning Center with the additions, we still have something similar to that. It's just it's 1 playground. Now, 1 playground being enclosed by a fence, direct access into it from the end of that hallway, if I remember correctly. And so then any of the preschool classes within the building, the students would be able to access that preschool playground without going outside of the building, outside of the fencing.
Yeah, they'll travel within the building, all leave via the same exit door to go to that playground. So they'll get the same safety benefit.
Yeah.
We just technically don't have direct access because we've got classrooms and they have to go down the hall to get to that access.
And it sounded like from our work session that this is kind of a common thing that's coming up more and more now.
It's becoming more common. When I described to our reviewer what our logic was for the planning, he understood it completely. He wouldn't go so far as to say this was a formality. It's still in the regs and they still have to consider it, but they understand.
And I'll just remind you that they approved the plans for the building that you have now, and has 7 classrooms, three or 4 years ago, whenever that opened. So I expect, even though they won't tell us it's a formality, I expect it will get approved.
Well, we just have to go through the process.
Right.
So do we need a motion for it?
Make a motion.
Motion by Mr. Pate and a second by
Diane
Diane
Berry.
Berry. I know, I just drew a complete blank there. Having my senior moment there.
I understand.
Yeah. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hawkins-Smith. Okay. Moving on to 5B, the district assurances. Ms. Williams?
Right, I'm here to share with you the district assurances, and I have everything there for you. Basically, it's a very lengthy document, but I'm going to share just a little bit of background. In the past, schools actually had to submit a document for each individual school, and you can only imagine each school had something different to say. So basically what they decided to do was to make one big document and put everything in there that they wanted us to do, and then give us a yes or no choice. So that's why you're going to find a lot of yeses in there, where we went through and just checked yes because we're going to follow those guidelines at Nelson County, and we're going to follow those procedures and guidelines as far as our funding is, as far as the procedures and guidelines of what we need to do for each one of those funding sources. There are a few things in there that we do not receive funding for, but if in the future we receive funding for those allocations, then we will follow those guidelines, and that's why yes has been checked on there. Do you have any questions or anything that you would like for me to explain?
This is just, yeah.
It is. lots of questions. I think there's 96 pages in all.
And
15
every
different
year,
sections.
every year, this is something that every school district goes through.
Has to do it.
You know, as the title says, it's the funding assurances, so it's us as a school district and a board saying that when it comes to each funding pot, that we're gonna do it the right way, simply put.
We're gonna follow the law. That's
Follow the
correct.
law. So we'll need a motion to accept the assurances.
I'll second.
Motion by Mr. Norman, second by Ms. Breeding. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, Ms. Williams.
Thank you.
We'll move on to item 6, college and career readiness, and 6A, which is the ARC 504 chairperson for 2015, 2016, Ms. Pyle. Oh, no. No, Ms. Pyle. Ms. Brown.
Ms. Pyle was out of town, so she asked me to present this to you for you to approve the list of ARC chairs and 504 chairs for each of our school, and you will see those listed, as well as at the bottom you will see the request for the district folks who will be chairing ARCs and 504 meetings. So I would ask that you approve this list of representatives at each school and at the district level.
Motion.
It looks like
I just have a quick question, and it's just more for knowledge more than anything. The district, I guess, psychologist, would that individual not be part of, as I was reading through this, I noticed that that position wasn't part of these groups. Would,
They write the report and they do the testing, and so they are a part of the group. They don't chair the meeting because they do write up most of the documentation on the testing. Then it goes to the ARC, and the ARC convenes and writes the IP.
So then the list of these names here are personnel at each of the school buildings that are authorized to chair the ARC 504 meeting.
Exactly, and most of them, or all of them, are guidance counselors, principals, or assistant principals. And then we had at the district level, of course, Mrs. Pyle, we had Tiffany Clark, who services all schools, and then we had 2 ARC chairs who serve one side of the county or the other.
What we end up seeing, I know, of course, at Nelson County and at Thomas Nelson, I think we've got assistant principal spots that either have just been filled, in the process of being filled. I assume we'll have those 2 slots filled in with names at some point at a future board meeting.
We hope that they're filled before the end of this month.
Okay. So, did that?
Yes.
Okay. So I think there, motion by Ms. Berry.
Second.
Second by Mr. Norman. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Appreciate this. Item 7, professional growth and effectiveness system, superintendent evaluation cycle is 7A, and this is something we've talked about as a board.
Yeah. And I'll take this one. The board is required to evaluate the superintendent every year, and there was some conversations we were going through that process about the fact that it does not align with the election cycle of board members. And so we wound up kind of doing an evaluation based on observation of just a partial year instead of a full year. So in talking with Damon, I also checked with the KSBA and several other districts evaluate the superintendent on that January to December cycle. They don't actually put it in policy, they just do it. So talking with Damon, it seemed like a reasonable thing for us to move in that direction, but it seemed the best way to handle it was just simply have a decision by the board that you would move that way. So this is really just to give you an opportunity to consider and decide whether you want to move that direction.
Well, and I know that Ms. Breeding, you had probably brought this up, and I remember whenever Mr. Payton and I came on the board, I don't know about you, Mr. Payton, but I kind of felt a little bit of it at a disadvantage because we had not seen Dr. Lance, previous superintendent, in action. So we really didn't have that frame of reference where we felt like we could give a really good, solid, sound-based evaluation.
fair evaluation.
Fair. That's a great phrase to put it. So, while I think well, we've always done it this way because, well, it's just the way we've always done it. This is an opportunity, if it makes more sense for us as a board and for Superintendent Orr, that we do it on the calendar cycle versus the school cycle. That while we don't have to do it as policy, this would be our way of just acknowledging and publicly stating that this is the way that we will do it as a board. I do believe it's a decision paper though, so we would need to do a motion and a second and a vote, that that's the way we want to do it going forward. I will add, I think we also have had maybe conversation that, so what do we do this 6 months from now, December of 2015 of this year? I believe we decide we will just go ahead and do another summative evaluation. And that even though we just did a summative in June, then we'll do another summative in December, and then we'll start with that new fresh calendar year 2016. That the June one will be a formative, and then December summative, and so on and so forth. Motion by Mr. Pate.
I'll second that.
Second by Ms. Breeding. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Item number 8 on the agenda, safe and caring environment, 8A sick bank summaries.
I have an information paper on the cumulative sick bank summary for the 14-15 school year. We added 9 members under classified, and we granted out 30 full days for the school year with an ending balance of 46. We are getting pretty low there. We'll have to open the bank up again soon. And then with certified sick leave, we added 27 new members to this pool. Days granted out were 15, and we ended with a balance of 112 days ending in the 14-15 school year.
What's the sick leave bank?
Sick leave bank is the bank that teachers can apply to so that after they've exhausted the supply of their sick days, they will have additional days that can be given to them if they are a member of that bank.
So a certified, if I remember this correctly, a certified staff member, if they want to be part of that certified sick leave bank, is it a certain number of days that they donate toward it each year?
Certified donate 2, but it's not for each year.
Oh,
It's
okay.
when the balance dips below a certain amount.
Okay.
Yeah, there's an initial donation, and then when the balance dips below, then we have to call on members to donate it again.
Is this for employees that do not qualify for FMLA?
No, they can be on FMLA and still be a part of the sick bank. This is just a voluntary program.
Okay, so FMLA though is, I'm sure, is probably not paid. So will they be able to use this somewhere to have
Yes.
those days paid?
Yes, after they've exhausted their current sick days that they have.
Okay.
You know, I mean, there are some, and we all hear some staff members that maybe will never have taken a sick day in 27 years of career.
Right.
And then there are some, I mean, emergencies happen, and they may get so low on their number of cumulative sick days that if it's a, life-threatening illness, a long time in a hospital, recovery, or whatever it might be, that this, if they exhausted on their days, this would allow them, if they're a member, to apply for and possibly be granted additional days so that they don't go without pay, as what you were asking.
So a regular like employee would earn the sick time, and their sick time basically carries over from year to year.
That's correct, certified
Okay,
and
and
classified.
so, someone who accumulates so much time, now, is there a cap?
No,
There's no cap.
no, there's no cap.
I'm just curious, I'm
Yes.
trying to understand how the process works.
And without saying names, for instance, I know someone who's a classified employee in the district, and they had I think it was a meniscus tear surgery, and it was 32 days that they were out last year. And they've got about 30-some days that they've got built up and have saved, but apparently they've got another meniscus tear. So so in a case like that, that might be, someone who's right there on the cusp, and if it took them a little bit longer to recover, possibly they'd have to take leave without pay. But if they're a member of the sick bank, it allows them that capability to apply and say, here's the reason why I've run out of days, can I get a few more days?
As they used to years ago, the cap is 10 days. That's all you could use was 10 days. So this is a lot better.
Now, do you ask the employees to use their vacation time first to exhaust their vacation? I mean, they have like personal days? and-
We have personal days and we have sick days. As far as vacation days, before they use that, you have to.
Most staff don't have vacation days because we're on a 10-month
That-
calendar or a
Right,
12-month
okay.
calendar.
So those personal days, does the district ask them to use their personal days first before it flips over to sick time? Or do they get to keep those personal days?
I think we do, yeah.
I know the personal days become sick days after they roll over the following year, but I'm not sure the exact situation during that current
At
year.
one time, it was 2 personal days a year. Is that still what it is? Which, you know, that could potentially be a day if a wedding in the middle of the week. You know, it's not sick, so you can't technically, legally take a sick day. Or it might be family coming in for a weekend and you're taking a personal day on a Friday to spend time with the family. A lot of staff will try not to use those days because also whenever retirement comes around, it can count towards your retirement benefits. So there's the incentive not to use them, and also we'd like to make sure that at all possible times that we've got the class teacher in the classroom. I mean, but also things happen, and we want to make sure that people have access to sick time. This here just, again, is for those unforeseen instances where they've used all of their sick time up and yet they are still medically unable to return to work, recouping from a surgery or whatever it might be. I think in this one here, it's not actually a decision, it's just more of an informative.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Petty.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Moving on to item 9, student and stakeholder engagement. 9A, guest comments. Guest comment policy, any person wishing to address the board may do so by following these rules. Individuals representing themselves are limited to 3 minutes. Individuals representing a group are limited to 5 minutes. Please step up to the microphone, state your name and address, and if you represent a group, state the name of the group you are representing. I think potentially we might have a record on it. We did this for Jim. So I need a motion to adjourn the regular session. Motion by Ms. Berry.
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Breeding. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? And I heard that we do not need to have an executive session, so.
I believe that's a record.
That's how you do it, Ms. Berry.
Thank you, guys.
I didn't have any questions, that's the only reason. I didn't have questions.